Did you know that in ancient times, ginger was so valuable that people paid for it with gold, and travelers risked their lives crossing jungles and mountain passes just to obtain its roots? It is said that in the 15th century, in some Indian ports, merchants would hide ginger in chests filled with sand to protect the harvest from thieves and moisture, while Chinese emperors used it not only as a spice, but also as a remedy for everything, from colds to fatigue and digestive issues. And now, a modern gardener, inspired by recipes and legends, goes to the store, buys an ordinary root, and hopes that at home, it will grow into a lush, fragrant, powerful crop. The result? Most often disappointment, a thin, weak, almost dry root with neither strength nor flavor. Why? Because no one explained the simple things on which all real success is built. The main mistake most beginners make is not that ginger is difficult to grow, but that they ignore the critically important steps that determine everything even before the root touches the soil. The first thing to pay attention to is the root itself, or rhizome. Historians and botanists have noted that in Asia, ginger was considered alive if it had firm, resilient nodes on its surface. These are precisely where new shoots sprout. It is believed that the more of these eyes a root has, the more active the plant is, and the stronger the harvest. If you take a smooth, dry, chemically treated store-bought root, as millions of people do, it may simply lie in the soil for months without moving, because modern supermarkets often coat ginger with growth inhibitors to prevent it from sprouting on the shelves. Scientists point out that these chemicals block natural processes, so even perfectly prepared soil cannot save the harvest. The next step that most skip, but which truly changes the game, is preparing the rhizome before planting. Ancient Indian gardeners reportedly soaked the root in clean water with a small amount of natural antiseptics overnight to activate growth and protect it from rot. The modern equivalent is soaking it in water with a drop of hydrogen peroxide for 8 to 12 hours, which not only awakens the buds, but also destroys spores of fungi and bacteria that may be lurking on the surface. Skip this step, and you risk your rhizome rotting even before the first shoots appear. After soaking, it is important to let the root dry, forming a natural protective layer known in botany as a callus. This is not just a term, it is a living barrier that prevents infections from entering the exposed cuts. But even if you choose the perfect root and prepare it properly, planting it in the wrong container kills its potential. Ginger grows horizontally, not vertically. Did you know that? Scientists confirm that rhizomes spread beneath the soil surface, and if you plant them in a narrow, tall pot, the root hits the walls, growth stops, rhizomes remain thin, and the harvest disappoints. A wide pot with good drainage, filled with a mix of nutrient-rich soil, compost, and perlite, is the environment where ginger reveals its full strength. Gardening historians note that in ancient times, similar mixtures were used in greenhouses on monastery farms, where each root was cultivated as a precious resource. Next comes the deepest paradox: planting too deep. People think that the deeper, the safer. But in reality, the risk of rot increases exponentially. Ginger is a shallow-rooted crop, and if the rhizome is buried several inches below the surface, it may simply rot in the damp soil before any shoots emerge. The correct depth is literally 1 to 2 inches below the surface, with buds pointing upwards toward the light. And if you plant several rhizomes in one container, leave 15 to 20 centimeters between them, so that each plant's root system can develop without competition. Once the roots are in the soil, it's time for care, water, light, nutrients. The mistake most beginners make with watering is either overwatering or neglecting it. The soil should be moist, like a wrung-out sponge, not wet and not dry. Many modern gardeners don't know that there is a method called bottom watering, where the pot is placed in a tray of water for 20 to 30 minutes, and the roots grow toward the moisture, developing a strong, deep system. Gardeners' stories shared on forums and blogs confirm that plants grown this way yield 30 to 50% more. Light is also critical. Ginger prefers bright, diffused light, morning sun, while midday sun can scorch the leaves. Lack of light slows growth and weakens the roots. Too much light burns them. Nutrition is the third key element. Ginger requires regular liquid feeding every 2 to 3 weeks, preferably with compost tea or a balanced fertilizer emphasizing phosphorus and potassium rather than nitrogen. Nitrogen makes the leaves lush, but the rhizomes thin. Phosphorus and potassium direct the plant's energy into the roots. Once again, history comes into play. Ancient Eastern treatises mentioned that special mineral additives to the soil made ginger dense, aromatic, and disease-resistant, and mastery lay in understanding these subtleties. So, the mistakes of most beginners boil down to 3 fatal points: choosing the wrong rhizome, ignoring preparation and soaking, using the wrong container and planting depth, and caring for the plant without understanding its natural needs. Now that your ginger is properly planted, the stage of constant observation and care begins. And here lies the real secret to a successful harvest that many forget. It's not just about watering, but about carefully understanding the plant's behavior and the signals it gives. Surprisingly, ginger leaves act almost like indicators of both weather and plant health at the same time. If they start yellowing prematurely, as experienced gardeners on forums and ancient Chinese herbal records note, it is almost always a signal that something is wrong with moisture or nutrition. Beginners often panic, overwatering the plant in an attempt to fix the problem, which only makes things worse. The rhizomes begin to rot, and all hopes for a generous harvest vanish. Stories from gardeners who have tested their mistakes over decades confirm that it is better to check the drainage, feel the soil about 2 centimeters deep, and only then decide whether to water. Many underestimate the importance of mulch, a layer of organic material on the soil surface. Historians have stated that ancient spice traders in India always mulched ginger with fallen leaves and straw to retain moisture and protect the root from sudden temperature changes. Modern gardeners confirm that half an inch of straw or fallen leaves preserves not only moisture, but also creates a microclimate around the plant, stimulating rhizome growth and reducing the risk of mold on the soil surface. Additionally, mulch regulates soil temperature, and the root is a sensitive heat indicator. Too cold, and it goes dormant. Too hot, and growth slows. Let's talk about the most subtle point: air humidity. Ginger, being a tropical plant, requires a humid environment. Otherwise, the leaves start to dry and yellow, and growth slows. Ancient manuals mention that Indian gardeners placed small clay bowls of water near the plants to maintain natural humidity around the root. A modern life hack: if you grow ginger at home or in a dry climate, lightly mist the leaves, use a water tray, or even create a mini greenhouse. This is a simple but highly effective way to make the plant feel comfortable and accelerate rhizome growth. Now, regarding plant nutrition, it is important not just to water, but to feed the root properly. Compost tea or balanced fertilizers emphasizing phosphorus and potassium rather than nitrogen allow the plant to invest energy not in the leaves, but in thick, dense rhizomes. Historical research confirms that it was mineral nutrition and trace elements that transformed ordinary ginger into a plant with aromatic, powerful roots that could be stored for months without losing flavor. Here's an interesting fact: ancient traders, when selecting roots for sale, always favored those with green, strong shoots, but without excessive leaf growth. They knew that the real potential lay underground. Equally important is proper lighting. Ginger loves soft, diffused light, morning sun, and light shade in the afternoon. Scientific observations show that too much direct sun burns the leaves and slows rhizome growth, while deep shade makes the plant leggy, thin, and underdeveloped. The optimal setup is an east-facing window, filtered shade from a tree, or a light curtain that softens midday sunlight. Interestingly, experienced gardeners claim that by observing the plant, you can understand its needs better than any measuring device. The leaves signal a lack of light. The edges begin to curl. This is the moment when the plant asks for more gentle sunlight. And now comes the culmination of your labor, the moment to consider partial harvesting. Many gardeners are surprised, but even before the rhizomes fully mature, young, thin roots can be harvested without damaging the main plant. Legends from Chinese monasteries tell that monks collected the first young roots at early stages to use in medicinal preparations, while the main plant continued to develop and produce large central rhizomes. This method allows fresh ginger for the kitchen in mid-season without compromising the potential of the main harvest. Finally, the secret that changes everything: the proper selection and storage of roots for the next season. Gardening historians noted that the best harvests were repeated year after year only with careful selection. The largest, strongest rhizomes with the most eyes were saved as planting material. This is not just a technique, it is selection that strengthens the plant's genetics and ensures the next harvest will be better than the last. Modern gardeners confirm that following these simple rules produces large, aromatic, dense rhizomes every season, turning home ginger cultivation into a true art rather than a matter of luck.